Okay.
It's working now.
Okay, cool. Okay, so what I'm going to give you insight into here is going to have value in all positions. I'm just going to show it to you here because it's easier to see. Contact is control at all times. Once the patient is sitting, and then usually we need to stay closer. If you're going to work on the trapezius, as far as soft tissue is concerned, and work perpendicular to fiber direction, either for assessment or for treatment, you then have two meaningful levers available to you, right? You have the head and you have the arm, because you can move, because the trapezius and the levator scap, so tissues that basically run from here to here, are going to attach both to the head or the neck, right? The head and the neck, as well as the scapula. You have the opportunity to use them both for leverage, right? So there's different holds depending on what's going to work, right? So one of the classic ones, you didn't have to do that, but thank you, right? One of the classic ones is going to be this. You know, you kind of get your push-pull, right? So pulling, you agree that pulling is bad, pushing is okay. You agree with that? Okay, thank you. So I would pull here, and then I can look for appropriate levels of tension. So it is now a still muscle, moving bone, okay? If I wanted to use the shoulder for leverage, right, I can get my push-pull here, so I can still get good contact. I can compare, again, pulling towards me or moving perpendicular to fiber direction, anterior to posterior is not ideal. I can now do stuff like this, right? So I've got both available to me at all times. I can switch, and I can do this. It's the same thing, though. I'm essentially trying to manipulate the scapula on some level, okay? Thank you. I will actually show this in supine as well, so if you just lay on your back real quick. Thank you. So you can attempt to work cross table, right? You can also work on the same side. Same side. Now in this case, you can't immediately see this, but just the size of my hand and where her shoulder is, my hand is all over her acromion and her clavicle. So I actually need to create space. I can't just grab, like, it's not going to work. So I'm actually going to move here. There we go. So I really kind of got to get stuff out of the way for my hand. So I can drop on it. I can pull, right? There we go. So now, in this case, because I had to use her arm to get it out of the way, I can add leverage. I can take leverage away there. This is going to get real weird. I want to start to use her head, but I can, right? This is weird. This is kind of no good. But if I wanted to use the head as leverage, if you would be so kind as to give me a little space, I would end up sitting down, right? So you still have all of this available to you. I tend to prefer fingers on top, thumb around the back. Some people will prefer this, right? So you can't see that, holy crap. This. Some will prefer this, some will prefer this. It's about the size of your hand and what works, right? So now I have head and neck available to me, right? I can come through here, same deal. Push, pull, grab, work, so that you can see a little bit of it, right? Fingertips on top, bing, bang, okay, right about there. Now we work, right? If I wanted to use the arm from here, it's just weird, right? It's just weird. So depending on where you are, at least for the trapezius, because you have the ability to use the arm for leverage and the head and neck as leverage, so you can hold the trapezius or that tissue, trapezius, levator scap, and a bunch of the other stuff that's going to blend in there. You can hold it still and move either the head and the neck or the scapula because you have connections on both ends. You have way more opportunities to choose different approaches depending on which leverage ends up working best, right? So if you happen to find something there, you can do it in seated, you can use the arm, you can use the head and the neck. If you go into supine or any other position, you start to have variance in how you do it, how the details go, but the head and the neck are available as leverage, so moving bones as well as the scapula because of just general connections. So that's where your simple understanding of anatomy, where things generally connect and anchor to, or attachment points or origin and insertion, just a very rough sense will give you something meaningful there. So that's how you could approach it in those two positions.